So they were married when?
In 1926, and they were married in Binghamton, in her home in Binghamton. Now, mother's mother died when she was 13 years old,
Oh.
so she didn't have a mother after 13. She had two older sisters. There was Gertrude, and then okay, I know. Gosh, I know this as well as I know my own self. Pearl.
Pearl.
Was
Lynette does a lot of genealogy, and while Dad has a good knowledge of that also, I think it's probably you that has kind of picked up that mantle of genealogy and understanding our heritage.
Pearl, Gertrude, and then Gladys, and that was when she was.
Okay.
Now, I think Pearl and Gertrude were both born in the Tucson area, but grandmother was the one that was born in the Mesa area.
So they got married?
They got married in Binghamton. That was a civil marriage, and then they went on their honeymoon to Salt Lake. They borrowed their brother, grandpa's, George's brother's car. It was a Ford, and they rode up there, and that was their honeymoon, is to go up to Salt Lake and be sealed.
How long did it take them to do that?
I think it was about a 2-week thing, that about a week up and a week back. They camped out on the road, and they say that there was another car that was going along about the same time. One would have a flat tire, and their car would go past that, and then their car would have a flat tire. This guy would go past them. And so they had
It was
leapfrogging.
Yeah. It was leapfrogging, passing each other. What struck me with that story is the actual flat tires. I think that we have in our mindset today that we really don't get flat tires very often.
No.
But back then it was a fairly common thing, and you had to learn how to patch up a tire and get it going back again.
A tube that was
a tube.
Yeah, I mean, these had tubes in them. I don't think kids now, they know what a tube is.
I don't think they do either, Mom. What a fantastic story that they would kind of leapfrog with this couple going up to Salt Lake also. And can you imagine taking 2 weeks to make the journey up and back? That must have been.
Well, they stayed, I imagine, some of the time there with. From what I understood, they were with some of the family of Alexanders.
Oh.
See, that is what's wrong with not asking your parents, talking to them about things like that, because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just know that that's the general thing, but not specific things.
So they were married. Who was their first child?
May 1926, and then Frances was born a year later in 1927, and she was born in Bisbee. They were living in Bisbee, and Dad was working in the mines, and they were living there with Uncle Walter and Aunt Hazel was also there, and Grandma and Grandpa was there also. So there was a family sort of thing there. Yeah, we have pictures of that.
So they're married. They have their first daughter, Aunt Francie. Where do you come in?
Okay, then they had they had a son a year later. Francis was born in July the 5th, 1927, and Neil was born in, Neil is my older brother, and he was born in September the 30th, 1928.
Wow.
So it was just a little over a year that he was born. And then I was born next, and I was born in Benson. That means that they had moved from Bisbee down to St. David. I was born in Benson on July the 11th, 1930. So there was 3 years between Francis and I, almost exactly.
Yeah.
And then we had a brother in between.
The total amount of children from Grandpa Brimhall and Grandpa McRae, how many kids do they have?
They have 10 altogether.
10 kids.
Back up a little bit. So they were in St. David. They were living with their brother and Dad's brother, Uncle Walter and Aunt Hazel. Walter is Dad's older brother,
Oh, okay.
and his wife was named Hazel, and they were living together with a home they had built together.
Wow.
And this home had 2 bedrooms, small bedrooms. They were not big. There were 2 bedrooms. There was a living area that, in today's time would be called small, but it was quite a nice size.
Uh-huh.
And then a kitchen, which was small.
And they shared the kitchen?
And they shared the whole home.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so there was there was mother and dad, and then I was the 3rd child, so there was 3 children. Uncle Walter and Aunt Hazel had had been married earlier, and they had a child. Barbara and June was born before Francis, and so these were 2 girls that were there, and they shared the room with their parents. And then there was Nadine, which was the same age as Neil, and so there was 3 of them and 3 of them. So there was altogether 10 people in that little tiny house.
Good grief.
Then they built a home identical to almost to it, right next to it, and that's where Uncle Walter and Aunt Hazel moved.
You know,
and Aunt Hazel have always been the best of friends.
Yeah.
I mean, they are better friends than most sisters are.
I'll be darned.
And Uncle Walter and Dad they worked well together.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think they had their problems, but they worked well.
Yeah,
together.
yeah. Wow.
Uncle Walter always worked at the, as far as I can remember, he worked with the equipment down in Bisbee, in the mines.
Right.
But when he moved to St. David, he worked at the powder plant, the Apache powder plant.
Yeah.
And so he worked there before my dad did. He was a great mechanic, very, very, very knowledgeable. Uncle Walter was.
It struck me today as I was thinking about this. It's mid part of July, and it's hot outside, and I think, well, you know, our modern day conveniences allow us to have air conditioning and feel pretty good. Did you have air conditioning in St. David?
Are you kidding? We didn't even have fans.
So how did you
windows at
bear
night.
with it?
Opened the windows at night, and that was it.
That was it. If it got hot in the house, it was just hot in the house.
And you had to cook with wood.
Oh my goodness.
So you cooked where it was hot, and did everything when it was hot, and there was 10 people in that house.
Yeah.
A lot of them were little, though. You
Yeah.
have to remember
But
that.
still,
What?
you
Yeah.
had 10 people in southern Arizona where it gets very hot, and
also
open
you
the
have-
windows and doors and let it get a little bit of cool, I guess, huh?
Yeah. You got to remember too that St. David, and especially where we lived, we had no asphalt. We didn't have any asphalt roads for a half a mile from where we lived.
So they were all dirt roads?
Dirt roads, and it was out, and it was higher than Tucson, so it was cooler. It was a cooler place.
By a few degrees.
Yeah, a
Maybe.
few degrees. Yeah. I don't ever remember particularly being so hot that you couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things that you just used to, and was glad to, have it cool off when it did. And
Did you Did you have power to the home, electricity to the home?
There was no power. We had
No-
kerosene lamps, wood stove. So
No
that-
electricity.
Not until I was about 12.
And then you got,
Well, let's see. Wait just a minute. My father, when we see, Uncle Walter and Aunt Hazel lived in the home next to us until they were. I know they had Donna there. And that was a year younger than I was, and I don't know about Stanley. But anyhow, they moved. I guess Dad bought their home. I don't know. These are things that I wished I'd asked, but I don't remember how we got both homes. But apparently,
but you did.
That Mother and Dad owned the two homes,
What?
and we built an addition to the second home, and that was where I mainly grew up. Was in the home that had an addition.
Is this the home that I knew of? It was in St.
No,
David. It was a whole
no.
different house.
This is
So what was it like to finally get electricity in your home? What's your
Just a
memory?
minute. When we moved to the second home, it had a basement in it, and in this
About what year was this, Mom?
Well, I would imagine that I would imagine that it was probably 1935, 36,
Okay.
37 that we moved to this other home. That Uncle Walter had moved to his home 2 miles away, and so Dad bought a generator, and a generator was able to make electricity.
Mm.
Yeah, that was, you'd start the generator up and the electricity, the light would come on. We didn't have, it was just a cord with a bulb on it. And that was pretty neat because then you didn't have to have kerosene lamps.
I remember you telling me one time that was kind of a fear of yours, was the kerosene lamps and the problem of knocking one of those over and burning the home.
Yeah,
Is that accurate?
Oh, that's always a fear of anybody that has kerosene lamps, is knocking it over.
Yeah.
And people don't know what kerosene lamps are
Uh-uh.
either. I mean, it was a stand. It was sort of like a vase stand, but where the vase was filled with kerosene, and then it had a wick that came down through it, and then above that was a contraption that the wick went up, and you lit the wick,
Mm-hmm.
and that was what made the flower. And then it had a glass covering over this thing, and this glass covering.
Kerosene lamps did you have in the home?
I know we had at least 3 more light, and it was a big one, and you didn't move it very much.
Maybe like the living room lamp, huh?
Yeah, it was more the dining area room. That dining area would be put that on there, and then that's where we spent a lot of our time around the dining room table.
Okay, so around 12 years of life.
Then they got the federal government made it so that it was possible for people like us or people on farms far away were able to get electricity by some act. And if I'd asked Dad, he'd know, but I can never remember the act. But it was a government act that made it possible for the electricity to come up the lane.
Let's talk about the plumbing in the house.
Okay, we had cold water.
You had cold water to
That
the
was
kitchen
and in the kitchen, cold water in the kitchen.
and the bathrooms.
We didn't have a bathroom.
What do you mean you didn't have a bathroom?
We didn't have a bathroom.
So where would you go to the bathroom?
We went to the toilet outside in an outhouse
An outhouse.
and take